Hello and welcome. You're tuned to the Leg Up, your weekly thoroughbred preview podcast, and we are back 10 a.m. Friday. Set the mice guide, do whatever you need to do. I know we're up against Tipping Point on Channel 1, so we appreciate you choosing the Leg Up. We're back, Steve. Foxbridge Plate Day.
Yep.
Would you believe it?
Well, not really. But look, it's been a long winter, a wet winter, Thaddeus. It's been a tough one to get through, in particular if you're a CD trainer or owner. A lot of tracks, a lot of meetings have been abandoned. They've struggled to reshift or set meetings at different venues because they've been a bit light on venues for different reasons. So, look, the Foxbridge, it is the launch pad going forward into the spring. So we're here now and looking forward to it.
100%. Now, I feel like we're missing someone here. I feel like we're missing someone. Usually,
a big unit between us.
Yeah, you remember that show, that game as a child, Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, there's
on
sort of
the
similar
Mega 500.
yes, exactly. Sort of a similar feel here. Where in the world is Paul Moate? Have you got Pops with you, Paul? Good morning.
Yeah, morning, boys. Yeah, I've got Pops with me, I do. And we're here live at the Claudelands Event Centre in Hamilton, where over the next 2 nights we'll have the TAB New Zealand Darts Masters. So plenty happening here. I guess I sort of feel like the All Black coaching crew. We've been through the reviews. Were we going to be coming back? Yep, we're back for another season. Even though there may have been some dissenting voices out there.
And the original cast, look, I was suggesting maybe is there a Jason Ryan type of inclusion or Joe Smith towards this Leg Up, but no, there is none of that. We're just coming in just a little bit strong from a new venue for today's Leg Up, and what a place to be as well. I can just feel it. I can feel it, Paulie. The fact that the darts are here in Hamilton, and great to be here as well as we lead it to what is going to be a great night over the next 2 nights.
100%. They're all there too, Pops, aren't they? I mean, you got all the stars up there tonight.
Yep, all the stars are here, and of course...
a few darts players as well.
Yeah, that's right. Michael Van Gerwen is the favourite to win the New Zealand Darts Masters. Been money for Gerwen Price, which is no surprise. Johnny Clayton in good form across to Tasman, and also Bully Boy Michael Smith, which might be a sneaky chance at a little bit of a price. So yeah, it's all on. Make sure if you're coming out, dress up, get amongst it. It will be a lot of fun.
Now, Paul, are you representing what's your role there at the darts? I'm just trying to clarify what you're up there doing.
Yeah, a wee bit of market research, just get in and about, with industry participants, just making sure everything runs smoothly, I guess.
Yeah, very, very valuable, I'm sure. What we haven't lost in the upcoming season is Brendan Popplewell's Maidener of the Week. BP, we'll come back to you.
Yeah, look, there was a bit to choose from, wasn't there, because we had that race meeting at a Taupo on Wednesday. And look, I'm keen to go with the best race that we had on Wednesday, and that was the Pack and Save 3-year-old fillies race, because it was a race where you would say first and second are warranted have been Maiden of the Week, and the winner of the race being Bestseller. We know that the horse was a stakes place getter last season as a 2-year-old, and the second horse in this race, in Sons Doot, was very well backed, having start number 1 to the races for her. But Bestseller, really encouraging effort with how she's been able to move around horses, sustain that run out wide and put them away. We'd seen that little bit of ability from her. She got it all wrong in the Group 1 out of Awapuni when she just got too keen in the race. But great return from her, and it really sets up our 3-year-old season now. So she went into that race as a maiden, and a clear maiden to follow too, and the second horse, and possibly the race itself, because it has stood up over the years. So yeah, pretty happy to mark her down as the Maiden of the Week.
Yeah, it looks like they went quite hard, Steve. I know John Barry, some of the comments they weren't expecting potentially that performance from Bestseller. They've always had a bit of an opinion of the filly, but that was impressive on the eye.
It was on the eye. Look, they did go hard, so the race shape did suit for Bestseller to come over the top of them. The overall rating for the class was negative 1.9. If you compare it to the other 1,100 metres on the day, the following race, Fellini, which we know has been there and done that as a juvenile, third in the Karaka Million, rated 2 lengths superior, but she's got a lot of upside, and we reacted sharply in terms of futures markets. She's in commission for the Hawke's Bay Guineas if they want to take on the boys. John Barry on his home track. I think there's a three-week gap between the Gold Trail and the Hawke's Bay Guineas, so it does fit in nicely if you want to take on the boys. But also in the 1,000 Guineas, she's an $8 equal favourite with Maven Bell and Prowess.
Oh, Prowess. We haven't seen Prowess yet, have we?
Trialled during the week, won a trial, looked very good in doing so. So, yeah, she's probably not too far away from hitting the racetrack.
Oh, very good. Okay, team, we're going to try and cover off 4 races today. 2 from Te Rapa, 2 from Awapuni. We're going to start at Te Rapa, Steve, but just run us through the what you think the track's going to be before we run through this market. The boys will hold that market for us, but how's the track looking? Because we have had plenty of rain.
Yeah, that's the big talking point during the week. A lot of rain, I think roughly around about 20 mils on Thursday. Yesterday, it's come up a heavy 10. I don't think it will change. There's showers today and tomorrow forecasted, Thaddeus. You go back to 2 meetings that were held at Te Rapa in July, July the 30th and July the 9th, both on a heavy 10. So I think it will be similar track conditions. I think you're predicting a 115 and change for the 1,200 metres, maybe just over 115 for the Group 2 Foxbridge. Going back to the last meeting held on the 30th of July, the rail was out 9 metres. Now it's back in the true position, so there should be a nice fresh strip of turf for horses to take advantage that want to be on speed. So I think on that score, the first half of the card, there potentially might be a bias to be on speed. We know Te Rapa can play like that on the best of days, but I think just purely where the rail position is being placed to where it was last meeting on the back end of July, back in the true, I think the place, look, it won't be a negative if you want to be on speed and follow that fresh strip of turf.
Yeah, okay. Race number 5. The guys have got the market there for us. It's the TLU Winter Championship. This is stacked.
Yeah, I don't think you'd find too many rating 75s at this time of the year. Better than this / stronger. Cape by the Ocean, who's been a revelation over the winter, $4.50 heads the market, well backed. In Sierra and Rose Crescent, $6.50 each of 2. Soprano Supreme, first up for Mark Walker and Opie Bosson. Look, there's a bit of speaking there, but they're not coming out of trees to punt that individual. 7 out of turn is $7.50. Wind Speed, just turned 4-year-old this individual for the Stephen Marsh team. 10 into 8, so there's one firmer. Victor Vegas, look, Sticky Gate from Barrier 1, where does he map? But 16 to 12, well played, as that can be the trend for Victor Vegas. And then best of the rest is also DB's of Power and Jackal Nuts, which needs a scratching at $12. So look, there's a few horses to talk about. We haven't even spoken the likes of Darcy's Queen, Hoard the Bourbon. Lowry resumes after an impressive 3-year-old campaign, so it's a very deep race.
We could keep going and going and going here, BP, as Steve sort of had to there, because there's not too many you can rule out, and boy, oh boy, this is going to be an exciting race and one to follow going forward, I would suggest.
Yeah, and this is one of a couple of really strong undercard races throughout the day, leading towards the Foxbridge Plate, and a number of different form lines to work off, and you do have some winter references that you can go to here, because it will be a very testing track there tomorrow with the amount of rain that has fallen over the last couple of days. It is currently still raining outside at the moment, and the likelihood that it's going to be one of those type of days here in Hamilton, with the prospect of maybe some better weather tomorrow. So that's key, but it's going to be very, very wet. Cake by the Ocean, first of all, I think is a horse we really need to touch on, and this is a horse who's really performed strongly, and a horse that was so good when winning last time to the races out of Ruakaka on the 16th of July. Everything about this horse is what I'm sure people liked. It can get through the weak track conditions, and it's just really found its home with Chris Gibbs, and obviously just that change of lifestyle and moving north and maybe getting a bit of extra sun on the back, and with how they train out on the beach has brought this horse on in Cake by the Ocean. So look, no surprise that he is the favourite and will be the one to beat.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, Steve, there's probably a race that is probably worth highlighting here. It's that Winter Championship Series final, which had most of it, or certainly had Cake by the Ocean in it, and she was impressive, wasn't she?
Look, yes, he was.
What
the key about himself is that he has tactical speed. He can put himself on speed. You see the figures there, 61.04 to the 600, running home just below par for the last 600, but the class rated very highly, just over a length. But look, he puts himself in the race, and then he has that turn of foot to accelerate off a solid tempo. Look, I don't think there's too much speed in the race. We'll touch about that in more depth soon, but maybe Rose Crescent is also at the back of the field there. Just had no luck tactically, got it wrong. It was out the back of the field. On this particular day, there was a definite bias to on speed, so Rose Crescent very strong through the line, was doing its best work in the last 200, and as I mentioned, through the line. So it's almost a forgive around Rose Crescent. Just on Rose Crescent, I've been a big fan of this horse ever since it won the debut, beating Inserio, who's one of the opposition in this particular race on Saturday. But just a little bit of a query around Rose Crescent. Her best figures are on an 8, and as BP mentioned, with showers forecasted and cutting up the track and being a genuine heavy 10, I just don't think that's her sweet spot. Whether they roll the dice and run in this event remains to be seen, but definitely her best figures have been on a slow 8 when she won at Te Rapa, and then she's been a little bit disappointing on a heavy 10.
Yeah, okay. Well, it wouldn't matter if it was scratch, would it, for our customers? We can touch on that a little bit later. Paul, your initial thoughts here. I know you're a Cake by the Ocean fan, and he was impressive last time, wasn't he?
He was very, very impressive, yeah, and I'm very, very happy to stick with Mr. Cake by the Ocean. 450 favourite. I like the fact Troy Harris gets on board as well. I thought he showed a good amount of tenacity last time out at Ruakaka when winning. He's got the form there. Will get a track to suit as well. Looking at Rose Crescent, 2.5 kilos better off this time than she was last time up at Te Rapa in that Cake by the Ocean race. Soprano Supreme, I'd be very, very interested to see how she goes here. I'm not sure 1400 is the ideal distance for her. Fresh up as well, not sure how forward she'll be, but one to look out for. I mean, if you look back at the Taupō meeting, Mark Walker had a day there, and I remember last season Steve Hunt threw up some numbers for Te Akau runners, and I'd like to see how they look after a month or two with Mark Walker at the helm, and just compare them with where they were sort of at the same stage last season.
Yeah, like I think Paul makes a great point there too, lads, around Soprano Supreme, because she is a staying type over a sprinting distance. Off her trial, you would have to say that maybe she can run a big race first up with how she sat back over 800 metres and really did work home through the line quite nicely. The same can possibly be said about White Noise as well. Again, a horse who should appreciate track conditions. We saw this runner win a couple of stakes races as a 3-year-old last season, the Ginger Nut Salva, and also the Wellington Stakes, ran in the Derby, ran well in the Avondale Guineas. So weight relief and a bit of moisture in the ground shouldn't be a problem, who has trialled well. So those type of horses add to the mixture with what we already have, and that is, as we mentioned beforehand, horses that have raced well throughout the winter.
That's a little bit of money for Wind Speed, Steve. I guess up and running Wind Speed, going for 3 in a row against some of these horses that BP just mentioned being first up. But what else is taking your fancy down the page? Because there's a number we could pick out here, isn't there?
It's an interesting Wind Speed. He won his victory as a 3-year-old the back end of last season. You see that $8 price peaked at $10 during the week. The interesting factor around Wind Speed as a race, the punters have taken a massive set against that particular race in previous weeks, in the last 2 to 3 weeks. I remember Bugatti at Tauranga was friendless, almost doubled its quote, and a couple of other individuals, the name escapes me at the present, that have been in races post that Wind Speed race and have been friendless in the market. So look, Wind Speed did win that race, so maybe they're just taking a line on the winner v the opposition at bet at Te Rapa on that occasion. But look, 10 into 8 has to be spoken about. Back to Cake by the Ocean. Look, he's rated a 22% chance at present, Cake by the Ocean. His figures probably don't reflect that he should be that dominant in the market. Now, $4.50, you might say it's a bit loose, but this is a very strong field. Yeah. But the thing about it, Michael McNabb's been on the source the last couple of occasions. He's been fairly soft on it, and I'm just not sure Cake by the Ocean has been tested hugely. I think there's still a little bit at the tank, so we've assessed that, and we thought that look, he's been putting an okay margin on his rivals in his last 2 victories or last 3 victories. We just feel that when the acid comes on, he might even improve that rating, which he'll probably have to do to beat a tidy 75 field.
Okay, no Michael McNabb, unfortunately, obviously.
No COVID.
Yeah, okay.
So
Troy Harris have already had a winner during the week, didn't he? So
look, and he's been riding plenty of track work for Te Akau and trials, etc. So he's getting his weight down to a nice balance where he's going to have some nice opportunities in the spring.
Yeah, okay. Another horse I just want you to touch on for me, Encierro. We haven't seen it for the thick end of 2 months, 8 weeks, but it's a horse you've had a bit of time for as well, and it has been super impressive. And I don't think the heavy track's going to be a problem there.
No, and you can link a little bit of form around Rose Crescent. They're $6.50 each of those 2 individuals. They could out at a similar race a few months back, albeit on a slow 8 at Te Rapa. But last start Encierro, look, there was no speed in that particular race at Hawke's Bay, and Craig Grills was really a default leader, and the horse and jockey did not appreciate that. They went very slow, which naturally you'd think would suit Encierro leading on that occasion, but I think he's a horse that likes to wind up his gears off a solid tempo, and it was a sit and sprint at the Bay, and he was just found flat-footed at the 400-metre mark, and there was a few horses there that had a quicker sprint at the top of the straight, and he was doing his best work through the line. So I think with a bigger field, Again, I'll mention there's not too much speed around this race. You've got the likes of Cake by the Ocean, possibly Wind Speed will look to go forward. There's 2 or 3, but there's no obvious leader that will look to go hard up front. So I think it will be below even tempo, but in terms of In Sierra, I think they'll look to get that neutral position, get a card in the race and wind up his gears rather than leading and being default leader at the Bay last start. So I'm willing to forgive him there.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Boys, anything down the page here in double figures? We've got a Paul Mawadi long shot for us here, or, you're sort of heading towards the top of the book here?
I'm all over the top of the book. I don't know about BP, but I love the top of the book here. I agree with Steve. I don't think we've seen the best of Cake by the Ocean. I think can go up another gear, and I'm looking forward to seeing that on track tomorrow.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's the one to beat. It is a good race to explore options if you don't want to back the favourite to win. One horse I would like to have in my combinations and possibly as a top 4 bet is DB Zapower. Now, he's raced really well throughout the winter. He's a horse who gets 3 kilos off his back tomorrow with Narajan Palmer, who's riding really well. They've made that little adjustment with blinkers off, visor blinkers on. He'll get through the ground. He sits at $11. He's just an easer in the market. I'd be wary of him. I think he's worth an each way and certainly a top 4 bet in the race for mine.
Okay, DB Zapower. You've been a DB Zapower fan as well.
Yeah, look, he's been going well. This is a touch stronger in terms of depth for 75 grade, but I think he will appreciate the wet track. I think you go back to that Tauranga last start on the 13th of August. That was pretty wet that day, so similar kit track conditions. He puts himself on speed, so he'll be probably in the first 4 or 5 and running and give a good shout.
If I had to nail you down to a bet here, what would you be doing? It's tricky races the boys have highlighted.
Look, I would have been Rose Crescent, but with that heavy 10, I'm just slightly against her. I definitely think she's got the class. But I just want to see how the track's playing. This is race 5. If it's playing a little bit even and they're coming down that centre part of the track after 3 or 4 races, I'm keeping a very close eye on number 4, Soprano Supreme, with Opie on. If she can get a nice track into the race, maybe 3-4 wide, a little bit of cover, and come into it at the right time, she definitely has the ratings, probably over longer trips, but I liked her trial and she's got a bit of class over them.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, Soprano Supreme, we'll be keeping an eye on that. Not a lot of money, not too much money at this stage. And saying that, there's a little nibble, and whenever Opie's on, we know there's generally a bit of a nibble. Okay, guys, let's move to the big dance. Race number 6, Waikato Stud Foxbridge Plate Group 2. Steve, run us through this market, will you?
We're headed by the 4-year-old mare Imperatriz. Very impressive first up. We'll talk about that race in more depth shortly. But $1.90, that's her opening quote, Thad. And she counts at roughly 65% at the hold, Imperatriz. So clearly the best back runner in the heavy 10, not putting off punters. A number of 4-figure bets on Imperatriz. Butler, 380 out to 420. Has been well backed in futures betting, but just out a couple of turns in final field. Tabby Mac and Darcy Labella, the 2 stablemates of Butler, both been firmers. 10 into 8 Tabby Mac, Darcy Labella 14 into 11. Then you've got the second division, Catalyst 15 out to 21. Friendless for Catalyst resuming. A bit of speaking for one more time. Also demonetisation 21-26 respectively. And also Rose and Power horse that will look to go forward. Open 31, got a size 41. Thad, but just back into the original price of $31. Currently a losing liability with a $400 bet at 31s earlier in the week. So, look, overall summary, Imperatriz, no surprise here. And look, I don't think so for a lot of viewers as well, that she is the best back runner when it comes to the Foxbridge. Yeah,
look, BP, she just gets in so well now at Wait for Age, doesn't she? And if you, it's almost hard to box around her, but you've got such quality horses resuming at big prices. Is it worth having a bit of a throw at the stumps at something longer in this market? I don't know.
I think it is. I think it's a race where, don't be shy. Don't be shy to venture out, because look, this is going to be a tough track tomorrow. And by the time we get to race number 6, and if this rain keeps pelting down, yes, Tadapa is one of the best drying tracks in the country, but this track's been copped. It's been copping the rain. Over 40 mils of rain leading up to the last couple of days where we haven't had any rain, and now the rain's back again. So this is going to be a serious test for every horse in this race. She has the class element. She's a twice Group 1 winner. She can get through track conditions, and yes, you're right, coming back to Wait for Age is a big assist for her. She drops 3.5 kilos on her last run. But look, short enough on a heavy 10 at $1.90, and and maybe it's an opportunity to start looking around. And I think that's what we're seeing with a lot of other bets on horses that have the proven wet track form. They may not have the proven class to beat a horse like Imperatriz, and yes, she would probably beat them on a more fairer playing surface, but this is an opportunity for some of those other horses to maybe try and nab her on the weekend. So yeah, look, I can see why there has been some bets away from Imperatriz, but also you can understand why she's $1.90, because she is the class act of the field.
Initial thoughts, Paul?
Well, that was a dominant win in the Kitty Kitty Cup by Imperatriz. No Dragon Leap, who's off to find a wee bit of Australian dollar in the Memsey. I guess Butler, one of Alan Sharrock's runners. I thought a very, very nice trial win earlier this month. Won here at the distance, was about 5 or 6 weeks back. Won't mind the sting out of the track either, so Butler at 380 wasn't the worst. I just keep looking at Catalyst. The lack of money sort of concerns me, but just remember when he was a 3-year-old, he just put them away, like for fun.
He did.
What was it, the Hawke's Bay Guineas, the 2000 Guineas? He's getting out to a backable price for mine, certainly for a top 3 or a top 4.
Yeah, I guess the thing with Catalyst, isn't it, Paul, is that look, we haven't seen him for so long. I mean, it's been 707 days since he last had a race day start, Catalyst, and he's a horse that has had his issues over the years and even the wet track. But you're right, I mean, the price is there, isn't it, if you believe he can rediscover the form.
Can he cop the track,
You'll give yourself an uppercut if you're not on and he does get up.
Yeah, that's right. Look, Thad, I did hear your question. Look, I think that's the issue, isn't it, is the track conditions. Because he isn't a true blue wet tracker, is he? And he's better with a good deck underneath where he can really, really drive, and he's got a lovely turn of foot. So that would be my question mark. It's going to be a question mark for a number of horses, but if they want to get the show on the road and try and get to the Tarzino, which is in 2 weeks' time, look, their hand is almost forced to run. So, yeah, it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? Do you run and sort of know that, look, he's not going to cop the ground, or do you run thinking of getting him in that good position for 2 weeks' time at Hawke's Bay with the prospect of a better track, fingers crossed?
Yeah, you've got one in the race. What are your thoughts?
Extremely large percentage of winning for all, a Hong Kong battler, formerly known as Battle Strike. Paul, I know you're part of the ownership as well, and you've got an extremely large percentage as I have. I don't think the heavy 10 is going to be ideal. It would have been nice if we'd copped a 7 or somewhere around there, or even a 6 would be ideal. So ran third to Imperatriz, obviously, in that Kiri Kiri Cup, and we're going to come to that Kiri Kiri Cup, Steve, because that form line, or that form, obviously has Imperatriz as part of it, and it's worth having another look at, isn't it?
It was a very good resuming run from Imperatriz. You see there, just off the speed, set up by 3 other individuals there. Again, the track was playing fairly biased, so Opie knew he had to be semi-handy to speed. He comes off heels at around about the 300 and then finishes strongly over the top of them. They've run just under even fractions for to the 600 and then come home 33.87, 2 lengths above par, so it made it hard for those mid to back markers, and the class rating was 1.8 lengths above par. And you take the consideration, look, that's just raw figures, but then the weight adjustment, she was carrying 60 kegs that day, Imperatriz. So overall summary, it was a very, very good return for her. And look, the form's also been franked in recent days or recent weeks. You see horse there, it was Zelinsky from memory.
Oh, yeah.
It was just in the back there, finishing in the midfield position. Came out and won the Open 14 last Saturday at Ruakaka. So look, the form's already bouncing out of it in the next week or two, I'm sure. So look, she's resumed very well, Imperatriz. My concern with her, and BP, where does she sit in the map? Because she's drawn barrier 10. And if I look at the speed map, look, naturally she has that gate speed to come across and put herself in the first half, but there's a little bit of speed underneath her. You look at Field of Gold, even though it might be a bit sharp for him over 1,200 metres to try and find that first 1 or 2 on the map, but Tavi Mac and also the Ralph pair and Speedy Medium one more time, they've both drawn inside gates. Surely they fit probably 1, 2 in the map, maybe both of them are definitely in the top 3. There might be a sticky situation where Imperatriz could find himself 3 wide facing the breeze.
May not be a bad thing though. Hey, like by the time we get to this time of the race, sitting midfield and maybe being 3 wide, may not be that much of a concern really by the time that we get to this race with how the track's played. Yes, we're thinking with that 9 metres of ground that we had from the previous meeting to where the rail is, that's going to be a good spot through the early part of the day. But look, I'm not too overly concerned about that for her if she does seem to be travelling 3 wide, if she's comfortable and she's copping the ground. You're right, though, in terms of the map. I think there's horses that are Rose and Power. I mean, well, Rose and Power has to go forward, doesn't she, from out there? She's a real runner. She's a horse that'll try and cross them and get into a decent spot. Look, Speedy Meaty needs a scratching, doesn't he, to get into the field? So, look, he's a horse that if he runs like he has at his trials, well, he's going to sit on speed, isn't he? And one more time as a horse who can do exactly that. And then you bring in horses like Tabby Mac. Look, Tabby Mac's going to have to try and find a spot. You'd imagine more forward. He's got a draw of barrier number 6. He cops the ground. He's a sort of horse that might slide and try and find a spot. So, in terms of the map, I think it's niggly when trying to write it down in paper form. But overall, it may not be a bad thing, though, if she is sort of 3 wide with a bit of cover in the fresh air, because it might be the right place to be by the time race 6 rolls around.
Okay.
I think the key around Imperatriz, and it's been astute placing from Mark Walker and the Te Akau team, is that they identified the Foxbridge, that she would run in that leading into the 1,400 metres in a couple of weeks at the Bay. They went to Ruakaka thinking that it was more likely going to be a heavy track at Te Rapa. Now, if she didn't run at Ruakaka, which there was conversations that she may not, and go first up in the Foxbridge, a lot of punters would have been taking a little bit of a set against her. But purely she's had that run under her belt at Ruakaka, that fitness edge, she can get through the heavy track conditions that are presented tomorrow. So I think that's a key form line, knowing that she's had a run under her belt. And she did the job. We saw that graphically, and also with the big weight. So she's come up a treat. We saw it in the trial leading into Ruakaka. But I think it's good placement, knowing that they wanted to win the Foxbridge. Being a Group 2, it's valuable for her, even though she's a dual Group 1 winner. But also leading into the Hawke's Bay, having that run under her belt, which was likely going to be a heavy 8 to heavy 10, and it's now on the worst side of heavy 10. It's worked out well that she's had that run under her belt.
Okay, there's one other race we do want to have a look at, and if I owned a rating 65 galloper, I would love the race to be sponsored by the Group 1 Turf Bar Sprint, so I could get the photo on my wall, Steve, say Group 1 Turf Bar. But this race, it says Butler in it, I believe.
This was an incredible performance. Just on figures, you see there they went out very slow, 37.87 to the 600. They flashed home in 37.18. Now, you might think, oh, look, there's not too much difference between the first 600 and the last 600, but knowing that's a heavy track, they always come home slower in the last 600 to the first 600 because they've had to use a lot of energy and sup up a lot of energy to get through those testing track conditions. So it's a little bit different to weighing up against a good 3 or a good 4 when they rattle home a lot quicker for the last 600. So to be quicker in the last 600 v the first on a heavy 10, look, the class rating was 6.3 lengths above par. This race rated number 1 in terms of the winter races over the last 2 to 3 months, Butler. Now, to put it into context, he did carry 51.5 this day, so he had a very light weight. So they're just raw figures, so you've got to put the weight adjustment there. He's out to weight for age to 58.5, but he is a big boy. And also, looking at the last 600 now, I know it rated very well. His individual last 600 at that race at Te Rapa was 36.78, roughly 4 lengths faster than any other horse on the day. So he's flying, and
he's going to get the 10 he wants too, isn't he?
He's got the 10 what he wants, which is a real leveller when bringing Imperatriz back towards him. Because look, her overall figures are superior. But they are levelled when it comes to a heavy 10, which we saw there in that graphic in that last win by Butler. He's had a trial on the interim. Alan Sharrock knows how to win this race. Like I mentioned, the 58.5 is a bit of a question mark. He's not going to be running those figures which we saw with 51.5 on his back, but he doesn't need to. He will regress, but even if he regresses slightly, he's right up to beating Imperatriz. I've got no doubt about it, Butler. He goes well at Te Rapa, so he's right in this. And again, he'll be suited by at least even tempo, which we're expecting with 3 or 4 looking to go forward. Rosenpower will ignite a little bit of speed, a little bit of heat because of her wide draw and getting across. So look, I think a lot of ticks going towards Butler to beat Imperatriz.
Gee, that's interesting. We'll come back to you boys. We'll start with you, Paul, though, and just surmise the race and tell us how you would attack it from a betting standpoint this year's Foxbridge.
Well, Imperatriz is going to be very, very tough to beat. But I do like one of Butler's stablemates. I do like the look at Tabby Mac. Let's not forget, a couple of years ago, he gave Avantage a bit of a fright in this race. So we know he's got the engine to get through this track, and I really do like the look of Tavi Mac, certainly for a top 3 at $2.40 at the moment. I'll certainly be having a little each way go myself on Tavi Mac, and hoping he gets a wee bit of luck, but yeah, Imperatriz is very hard to beat.
Yeah, look, I'm with Butler. I think things set up nicely for him. He has got the track conditions. He has been perfectly placed by Alan Sharrock with that race there at Te Rapa, and then a very good trial. I think he sits nicely in the map. He's drawn where he can get a sweet run in the race, and he is really going to be a hard horse to maintain coming down the straight with others trying to either chase down or looking to be run down. I think this horse is the one that'll be powering over the top through the conditions where others may be just floundering late in the piece, and I think that's the key to him on the weekend. So I thought he was a bet at $4.20. I do like Tavi Mac. I'm a little bit with Paulie there. I think there's a nice little power play available there where you could take the Tavi Mac and Butler top 4 power play. There's going to be a lot of those type of bets where you could look to play into. I think that's one that gets me already. One horse I think you want to have something on in terms of a trifecta or first for, and I will be having a place bet on this horse, is Demonetisation. Now, if you go back a couple of years ago, he ran 4th in this race in 2020 with Leith Innes aboard, and that was a race where he got a long way out of his ground and he was really powering home. Now, you would think that this race is not suitable for him, and yep, that is a fair point because he's run better in stronger races, Easter handicaps and all those sort of races. But you go over his form. Look, he's competed in some of our better races last season. He was, 5th in the East. He ran 4th in the Zabeel Classic. He was able to win the Eagle Technology Stakes. He ran 6th in the Captain Cook Stakes. He's a class horse, and what brings him into the race is it's going to be very, very testing conditions. It may not be an easy watch early doors because he's drawn wide and he's going to get back in the field, but in terms of a place bet or a top 4, he just might be powering home later in conditions he will love. I want him in my trifecta, and I want to have a place bet and top 4 bet on him.
That's okay, a great power play too, BP. Those odds are boosted. Top 4 for Butler and Tavi Mac, boosted out to $4.
Love a little boost.
Who doesn't love a little boost? Yes, you're still on with Thunderpool, $4 exactly, boosted odds, Tavi Mac and Butler, and there is a nibble for Demonetisation. Don't you worry, out at $26, as there is with Rose and Power as well. Steve mentioned that $400 bet at 40 to 1. So we might have a quick look, guys, if we can, at a Tarzino futures market, Steve, just with an eye with the Foxbridge around. I hope the boys have got that there, and look at that, right on cue. Steve, what are the sort of repercussions here?
Well, La Creek's probably the big talking point. She trialled enormously on Wednesday at Taupo, and yeah, she's just ticking over very, very nicely in all her trials. The word coming out of the camp is very strong around La Creek. $4.20. She's been the genuine mover in the last maybe 7 to 14 days, Thaddeus. And Dragon Leap, slight question mark. He's eased a touch in the last 7 days. I think roughly he was $5 at the top of the week. He's now at $8. Yep. Butler, $8. That price will be purely dictated around track conditions and how he performs tomorrow at Weight for Age. Imperatriz, she's just been solid right throughout. She was the original fave. She's been bouncing between 260, 280 for the majority. Look, Catalyst is the big improver. If he can get a fine track at Hawke's Bay, which they'll be preying on, and bounces out of the race. Look, tomorrow's race is just a nice way to kick off. It's a decent foundation. We want to see this horse have a preparation.
There's been money for it in this market as well, Steve, hasn't
he's been
probably not
heavily
so
punted.
much the Foxbridge, so it's interesting.
Yep, $18. He was out there maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago. We accepted that $400 bet at $18 on the back of a jump-out victory up north. You're seeing over the page there, Harlech yet to resume. Gino Severini, who's run well in a Foxbridge previous years at a $41 price, is winning for $31. And Demonetisation at $41. Now our Alley Cat, I don't think she'll be going there. Remains to be seen, but she's trialling up well. Yep, she's trialling up well. So, yeah, an overall settled market outside La Creek, who's been a bit of a firm of late.
Yeah, of course. But remember, Future Proof is in play there, so you can have a bet up to $50. And if your horse doesn't make the final field, you'll get your bet back as a bonus bet up to that $50. Right.
Just want to touch on one horse.
You can see the clock because I don't want to be in a situation.
One more time. Look, I'm with Butler with BP.
Yes, sorry,
I'm with Butler. I think
that.
with the heavy 10, I'm weighing towards Butler, and I just can't ignore those figures. If it was a slow 8, maybe a different answer. But one more time is the 1x4 play. She's going to put herself on speed. I like her running the King's Plate last year, albeit it wasn't a heavy 10 that day. It was at Ellerslie on a reasonable surface, but she came out of the gates. She was ridden that neutral position and behind Sword Estate and whatnot, who ended up being the winner in the King's Plate. But her closing sectionals were comparable to the likes of Babylon Berlin and Sword of State, her last 8, 6, 4, 2 splits. She'll go forward. That's not the way to ride her, neutral, that day in the King's Plate. I think it was just circumstances coming out of the machine from an awkward gate. She's got a decent alley. She can put herself on speed. She's quite versatile in terms of track conditions, so I've got no knock on the heavy 10, even though on paper form it's not proven. But I think she's the 1x4. She can run a race and give it a little bit of cheek down the straight.
Okay, Imperatriz, Butler, Tavi Mac, Catalyst, Demonetisation, and One More Time. Box 6 for my top fours, for my top 4 and trifectas. That might be the way I'll be going off what the boys have told us there. Right, if you're not, moving forward, or you're going backwards in this game, and we've got a new segment here, I think, Paul. You've been out and about somewhere. What have you got for us?
Yeah, I've been out and about, I guess, amongst the racing community. And I was sent out there to ask the hard questions. So we did that, and we've got a few lined up, and I think we've got one lined up for us right now. And why don't we start on a high? And we'll start with Sam Spratt, and I asked her a few questions just a few days ago. We're here at Cambridge, and I'm joined by Sam Spratt. Sam, do you just want to introduce yourself first?
Hi, my name's Sam Spratt. I'm 28 years old. I'm from Pukekohe, and I'm a professional dancer.
Fantastic. Who has been the biggest influence in racing?
Probably Colin Gillings, my old boss.
What was the first car you owned?
A Nissan Pulsar.
Toilet paper, over or under?
Over. I just had to imagine myself going to the laboratory.
Most famous person in your phone contacts?
I don't really know anyone who is famous. Brendan Popplewell.
No. Your go-to karaoke song?
Oh, well, I ran 4th, and there was only 4 of us in Whittying Idol, and I said Summer of '69, Brian Adams.
It's definitely a no for me, dog.
Who has it easier, jockeys or trainers?
Oh, trainers. They just sit and drink coffee.
Your favourite board game?
Monopoly.
Union or league?
League.
Favourite cocktail?
Espresso martini.
If you were a premier darts player, what would your nickname be?
Bullseye.
And what would your walk-on song be?
I'm feeling hot tonight.
Oh boy. Thank you, Paul. Minute with Moadia. We've got more of these, sadly.
It's a hard act to follow.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, very well done, Paul. Thanks.
There were plenty more questions as well, Thad. We've cut a few out, so I'm guessing they'll appear on the leg up after dark edition.
Yeah, exactly. I like the look of Whittying Idol. I'm wondering how I can get a start there.
How good. Yeah. Full of talent.
Yeah, very much so. Okay, boys, well done, Paul. Let's go to Awapuni. We've got a couple of races that we're going to have to move relatively rapidly through. Race number 4, Steve, the J&J Walters Property Brokers 1,200 metres for the Open Handicappers.
Yeah, look, a compressed race. There's 4 or 5, roughly 2 points separating them. Head by Hooks. He's looking for 3 on the bounce. Had a stellar Carnival Grand National time down at Riccarton, Hooks, and with that 4 kg claim gets down to 54.5. $3 into $3.20 into $3. So well back commodity in front of Star Treasure. Comes off you'd have to say a betting plunge last start. 450 out to 480. Pull no punches, bouncing between 550, 4.8. Mason Roxanne. Get the budge since the opening call of $5. Tavi's caught $8.50, and best of the rest is Deerfield at $11 shot. So, look, no clear lead, but they're comfortable punters to take Hooks, and the initial price at $3.20 was on offer.
Yeah, okay. I guess the form line, Lily Sutherland getting it down to 50.5 BP, does look a reasonable sort of proposition, doesn't it, Hooks?
It does, doesn't it? As you mentioned, that weight relief's a massive assistance for this horse. In really good form. Track conditions are going to suit once again. So Look, he does pick himself on that score alone, doesn't he, Hooks? There is a couple of other good chances in the race. I think Stephen's right. Star Treasure is one of those horses. Look, did beat New York Jazz, who does take its place in the Foxbridge Plate on the weekend. And maybe it's just a case that they've just rediscovered his old form lines. Because, I mean, when he was running as a 2-year-old, he was running in our best races, was this horse. And look, now he's an 8-year-old and he's getting through the wet ground. And maybe they've just found something there with him in rediscovering his form. Is Deerfield a little sneaky maybe as well? Look, operates well on wet ground and also at Awapuni. I know he's got to carry the 60.5. He goes around sort of at $11. He might be a little smoky, but no, I don't know about you, Paul, but I keep coming back to Hooks.
Does look and as you say, down at Riccarton, look very, very good. And Lily Sutherland has been riding really, really well of late, and only has to carry 50.5, so really nothing on the back there. I don't mind the look of Tavi Court. He was winning open handicap races around this time last season. It gets a 3 kilo relief with Jitesh Madhu on board, so only 57. Toughed it out 3 starts back, just in behind Chase at Trentham, and is at, I think, around the $8 mark. So Tavi Court, I thought I'd slot in there somewhere.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. There's a drop back in company for that horse too from last time in the Open Aki Cup. So, yeah, look, away from the favourites, it's a little bit curly, isn't it? I thought the race, and maybe there's an opportunity of playing a horse at $8 or $10, but then you keep coming back to Hooks, don't you? So, yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, tricky. $8.50 Tavi Court for Paul, and his Xavier Borders right form. He would be well in it. I can't catch Star Treasure, Steve. It sort of caught us off guard a little bit last time with the wind, didn't it? But it tends to be well backed always.
It does, you're right. It's quite often got a red number next to it, knowing it's a losing liability in our risk manager, Star Treasure. But look, a little bit soft, you'd have to say, in the initial 24 hours of trading. Look, I don't have a strong opinion in this race, but what I will say, there is a ton of speed in this race. There's going to be some heat in the first 200 to 400 metres. You look at Hooks, Eagle County, Tavi Court and Mason Roxanne. In the last 2 or 3 starts, I've all been in that leading position. So 1 or 2 will have to give for that spot. So on that score, I'm looking for a horse just off tempo. That's why I sit with Pull No Punches. Should just be off that hot tempo which I speak about. And look, its overall figure last start was okay. It's not up to open class, but I look at this race as a whole, BP and also Thad and Paul. Look, outside the 1 and the 2, it really is a glorified rating 80. So. And you look at the 1 and 2, they haven't won for a while in Deerfield and Tavi Court. Definitely not this preparation as yet. So, and they've got weight. So I'm looking at Pull No Punches, even though it's got to step up to open class for the very first time, and it won at 75 level, and the 75 level figure wasn't reflecting its well up to open class. But knowing the opposition and just the top 2 and where they are in terms of a campaign and form, I'm willing to go with Pull No Punches, and purely a lot of it comes down to tempo of the race.
What about Mason Roxanne? Second, third? Yeah, I mean, it could suggest it's at the improving stage still here. Just sort of, I say struggles to win one. It's won 5 from 27. That was not a bad record at all. But what do we do with Mason Roxanne? Is it in play?
Well, look, I think she's got to be in play. She takes the heavy track form. She goes well at Awapuni without winning. Again, she puts herself in the race, but again, she's just going to have to fight that winning or that, sorry, not winning, but that leading position or sitting outside the leader with 2 or 3 others, which is not ideal because if the map turns out how I can see it, they just might go a little bit hard for him, but a little bit too much pressure on her in the first 400 to 500 metres. She may be vulnerable late.
Okay, boys, final thoughts and betting attack for the 1200 here, race number 4.
Yeah, I just thought one more thing with that pressure that Stephen's spoken about. I mean, with Hooks having 50.5 kilos, is it just the case it has a featherweight on the back that they press forward and look to be the supremo of finding that position? Yep, might have to squeeze a little bit of juice out of the orange to get there, but just because the horse has got so light in the weights that maybe he is the one that gets into that position. You're right, then it's down to a sweet spot. Star Treasure could also fall into that position too if it is a really hard run race and the horse you like in there and Pull No Punches. So yeah, look, I'll stick with Hooks, sitting around that $3.20 just with the massive weight relief and how the horse has been running so far. What about you, Paulie?
I like Hooks as well, but I'm going to go with a fixed Quinella here, Hooks and Tavi Court. That's currently $12.
There you go.
Great man, bringing in the old fixed exotics for us. Very good. Tavi caught $12 with hooks to run the fixed Quinella. Steve, final thought. You're pull no punches, aren't you?
Yeah, pull no punches, just purely. As I mentioned, I don't have a strong opinion in the race, but just on tempo and thinking it's going to unfold into a sprint for the first 200 to 300 metres, it might just set it up for that individual.
Okay. Race number 7, gentlemen, is the last race we're going to have a look at today. Richards Construction, E. Henderson Woodbridge, BNS, 1,550 metres. Steve, who's our favourite here?
New fave, just ask me. New fave with the scratching of Cork. Now, Cork's come out, Thaddeus. Tell us more.
Cork has come out. Came out as a $3 favourite, didn't it? And we are having no deductions in any races till November 13th. It doesn't matter what the race is, doesn't matter how many scratchings you have. So everyone that's had a bet prior to Cork scratching, which I think was first thing this morning, could have been late last night, will get the price they took. So would have had a 26% deduction. We don't here with Cork coming out. What do you think of that, Pops? You'd be a fan of the no deductions. Licking his lips.
That's a really big question there from you, Thad. Yeah, of course, absolutely. We punters rejoiced, I'm sure, around the country with no deductions. Look, it's a massive play from the TAB. It really is, and it puts them in a great spot in front of their competitors, I believe, with this no deductions throughout the spring. So, look, this race here, I mean, you could have had, without knowing sort of the insights around Cork or anything like that about the horse running, you look at it and think, well, there's no jockey declared. So you could have played the race thinking the horse is going to be scratched and backed the horse in the race. And let's say Mont Ventoux, $16 was the opening price on Mont Ventoux. It's now $8.50. So now I haven't done that, but I'm just suggesting that I'm sure punters are scrolling through the fields now, trying to find any races where there's a favourite that hasn't been got a jockey declared. You know, there might be some runners that, you know, that are dual accepted, all those sorts of things. So rely on that knowledge and play, because it could be in your favour.
Yeah, certainly going to drive.
We've already seen it earlier this week as well over at Sandown with the Andrew Forsman trained St. Bathans, who opened up at $14, and there were a swathe of scratchings in that race. But those that took the 14 early got the 14, and boy, what a finish!
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? It was really good, wasn't it, St. Bathans for Andrew Forsman? So
punters rejoice.
They did. So look, it's a massive plus, and I'm sure the punters will get right in behind it, because it's been one of those little pain points for the punters, hasn't it, over recent years.
No doubt, it's a major pain point, and it always has been as long as I've been here. Deductions, and trying to explain it to new customers or people new to racing why their price has been reduced or the return's been reduced is never easy. So, yeah, it's going to drive some engagement, there's no doubt about that. Anyway, Steve, you better run us through this market, race number 7. I think Just Ask Me, now favourite.
Yeah, look, it's been a well-backed commodity, even prior to Cork being scratched. Just Ask Me, has to carry a big weight, gets that claim down to 59 kegs, but he can carry that weight. We've seen it this preparation, Just Ask Me. $2.80 in front of Timberlake, who's also been well played. Again, with that feather weight of 50 kilograms, with Lily Sullivan doing the riding, 360, just out of turn today to 380. Diogenes, $7 off a shortener of 650. Bellissimo, $7.50, also out of turn to $8. A couple I've specced in the middle market, Thad, Mont Ventoux, 13 to 850, was 16 originally with Cork in the race. No loitering, 14 to 12, and also Carpe Diem, who looks to be a pace influencer in the race. Again, with 52 on the back with that claim, 21 into 12, was 15 prior to Cork being scratched. So, yeah, look, outside Just Ask Me, they're willing to play a couple in that middle market, but the overall lead in the first, 36-odd hours sits with the Alan Sharrock trained galloper.
Yeah, okay. Look, Timberlake gets down using that Lily Sutherland claim, BP down to 50 again. Looks pretty nice, but it just sort of feels like a Just Ask Me race. I don't know why.
Yeah, look, and he ran super, didn't he, last time to the races in the Opunake Cup, and look, he gets down to 59 kilograms. We've seen Helena Baby go on with the job again since as well, out of Tauranga. So there's just a lot to like about Just Ask Me in the race. As you might have gauged by my frustrations talking about the no deductions, wishing that I was on Mont Ventoux at the $16, because I do think it's a bit of a chance in the race, and now currently at $8.50. If he can find that form where he was winning a Kiwi Fruit Cup, yes, over 2,100 metres, but it's going to be a slog there. I know he's been better in the Winter Cup and Opunake Cup at his last 2 starts, but he is better than that. I'm just happy to give him another chance and with where he sits in the marketplace. What about you, Paulie?
Yeah, you mentioned Helena Baby. Well, Mont Ventoux beat Helena Baby back in June, so
yes.
I'm on as well. I don't mind the look of Mont Ventoux, and just like you, I wish I had the 16s as well. There are a number of tickets already with 16s out there because we did take some early money on Mont Ventoux, and yeah, I think just forget the last couple of starts. Look back before that, and it's running very, very well. So still $8.50 now. Yeah, I like Just Ask Me. I do. Up at the top there, and I'll be following Lily Sutherland as well. I think she's a jockey to look forward over the next couple of months. So Just Ask Me, Timberlake and Mont Ventoux.
How quick are your fingers here, Paulie? What's the fixed Quinella 1 and 2 there in that race number 7? We got a chance of getting something there in terms of a fixed Quinella.
Yeah, I'll have that ready for you next episode. Fair dinkum.
Yeah, right. Well, anyway, we can have a look at a replay.
We could be here all day.
Yeah, exactly. His fingers aren't fast.
Who do you want?
There's
Mont
nothing
Ventoux?
fast
1 and
about
2.
him.
1 and 2. Here we go.
Here we go. Great television.
That went out $12.
Everything's $12. I wouldn't say $12 again. Okay. Well, there you go. Steve, we do want to have a look at a replay for this race. The Opunake Cup's the race we want to have a look at. Just run us through. This was Helena Baby's race, wasn't it, in the end?
Yeah, and BP mentioned Helena Baby's gone on with the job, winning with 59 kegs at the mile at Tauranga. So the form's been franked. What you don't see there is the initial 200 metres out of the machine. We Just Asked Me had drawn a wide gate, went back to the last third. You see there in around about 5th position, coming to the centre part of the track, finishing over the stablemate into that 5th position. The concern I have with Just Ask Me, look at those figures, they rated very highly for an open class race. Probably is the prime winter race, taken over the Winter Cup in recent years, the Opunake Cup, even though it's 14 v 16 of Riccarton. But what you don't, my concern around Just Ask Me is barrier 1. We know she doesn't have tactical speed out of the machine. She probably maps last on the rail, so she will rely on tempo, she will rely on luck, and the track to play fairly even. So that is a concern if you're diving into the $2.80, but I think outside that she ticks a lot of boxes, or he ticks a lot of boxes, Just Ask Me. So just the one little negative was barrier 1 and where he maps, knowing that he has a slow tactical speed out of the machine. And look, it's not an overly big field. There's roughly around about 8 or 9 horses in the field, so it's not a 14 or 16, which you found in the Opunake Cup. But that was probably the one little negative before I dived into $2.80.
Okay, I've seen some money down the page here for the outsiders. BP bodes well. Mauna Kea at $15 and $18. So it might be a sort of a race a bit like that.
Bit of rugby money there, maybe, with Bodes well. Of course, Bowden's got himself a little break this weekend, so I'm sure he's found his way to having a punt on Bodes well, fresh up to the races. Yeah, look, I think the 1 and the 2 are my sort of plays in the race. Diogenes was good last time to the races as well. Last time finishing into that 2nd spot, what was it, behind Bullybrook? That's genuine wet track form, isn't it, from that horse, and he's shown that in the past. Also has Diogenes, but yeah, I'm happy to shop around that $8.50 that is still available around Mont Ventoux.
Paulie?
Yeah, tick the box. I'm joining BP.
They're on the same
Take
page.
Quinella.
You're a $12 Quinella, men. It's dangerous when you boys are lining up. Okay, Steve, final thoughts there? I thought Timberlake would be a chance with down on the weights. Building towards a win, or
yeah, it is. A bit of sense of timing around around Timberlake, that individual with that claim. Look, I'm a little bit disappointed at the fact that Diogenes. I was really keen on this horse 2 weeks ago at New Plymouth. Obviously, the meeting was abandoned through track conditions, etc. Just not sure about her chances at Aupuni. She hits a nice little sweet spot when she hits New Plymouth, and she was down in the weights in a similar field, but probably leaning towards Just Ask Me. But at the price with the draw and tactical speed or lack of it, I was hoping maybe north of $3.
yeah, okay. The boys, the darts boys, Just Ask Me, Mont Ventoux for them in the open mile. They're open 15.50 at Aupuni. Righto, guys. No doubt we've used our time up. Best bets time. BP, we're going to come back to you and Paul. We'll start with you though, BP. What's your bet of the weekend for us?
All right, I'm going to go to race number 2 out of Te Rapa, and I do like the chances of Dubai Diva. She's a horse who performed well last season, She was a 3-year-old filly that was good enough to run second in behind Imperatriz in the Soliloquy Stakes. Yes, I know it's a form line you keep coming back to, but it's a hard form line to ignore, isn't it, with what bounced out of that race and how well she ran. Then she had a strong autumn where she had, a promoted victory in the end, and then another victory and a placing. I thought her trial was okay out of Avondale on the 16th of August, but I like the fact that Opie's on with a good barrier draw. It is race number 2, so there might be that opportunity of really utilising that barrier draw. So I was happy to be with Dubai Diva. You, Paul?
I'm looking at that rating 75 1400 metre race at Tarapa, and I like the favourite here, Cake by the Ocean. Been in super form, winning from 14 to 1600 metres. Troy Harris on. I just really like the look of it. I know it's a tough race, but I really like the look of it. I think there's a wee bit more in the tank there. Cake by the Ocean.
You think you're going to be able to keep that ROI of 50% up for the remainder of the season, Paul?
I'm just wondering, we're running out a bit of cash, because can we not get any graphics up for the ROIs for everyone?
No.
Steve, are you working on that?
We can see them.
We can see them.
Don't worry. I can see you big plus 50. Don't panic. I don't know if it'll be plus 50 in a few weeks' time. But anyway,
Shorty's
fingers
mike's gonna
crossed.
run out shortly.
Steve, you're bit of the week.
Wow.
You're out of reach, so I can say that, yeah. Look, I'm going to go to Matamata on Sunday. I'm going to go race 6, Who's Sam? Now, it's going to be very testing track conditions, similar to what it found in its maiden race back at Avondale. This race, or this performance, rated through the roof, 5 lengths above par, Who's Sam produced this day. Look, it was off a high SP, but still lightly raced, so that just might be a little bit misleading, Who's Sam. It had trialled up well leading into this race. Just hadn't shown it on the track for whatever reason. Is that a trial in the interim? Because that was 5 or 6 weeks ago, so it's had a trial in the interim just to keep it up to the mark. From a handy draw, I expect it to be in the first 2 and running and be hard to beat.
Very good. That's one for Sunday, when we
Sunday
can take the Saturday
6.
winnings, lump it all on Who's Sam on Sunday. Perfect. Okay, gentlemen, we better wind it up. Thank you, boys. What bonus back promotions or bonus back blitzes, Paul, this weekend? Are they still running?
Yeah, we've got the bonus back blitz once again this Saturday. The first 4 races from Awapuni, Tarapa, Rosehill and Caulfield. I suppose I should also mention we've got the New Zealand Darts Masters Mega Multi-Buster BP. So if you like your darts multis, get in there and have a go, and check out all the T's and C's at the Punters Lounge on the TAB website. But there are plenty of opportunities to grab a bonus bet there. And we were just speaking earlier, we thought Bully Boy Michael Smith was a go. I'll tell you what, we've taken some money on him. He was $8 yesterday to win the New Zealand Darts Masters, now into $5, Michael Smith. And he is the second best back player in the outright market behind MVG.
Yeah, I like Bully Boy, I really do. I thought the $8 was great shopping. And once that we move into sort of Saturday, look towards those markets where you can play total 180s, most 180s. That's when that'll be an attractive option. So yeah, get on tab.co.nz and look to play those different markets, because it just keeps rolling out game after game, and it means you can get those multis going. And if you miss a couple of leagues, well, you've got a chance of a bonus bet. It's going to be good fun.
Yeah, thanks, boys. Just remember your ambassadors for the TAB up there. Paul, I'm looking at you more directly.
Glad he's looking at you.
Oh, you can't hear. Yeah, he's broken up. Thank you, gentlemen. Have a good weekend. Good luck. Thanks, Steve. Thanks for your help.
Cheers, Dad. Good to be back.
Yeah, it's good to be back. We've got through an hour. We better go. 10:58. We've got to go. We'll see you in a week's time. Thanks for joining us on the Leg Up. We'll see you in 7 days.